Well, good morning. It's Last Call Wednesday here on the Figure Stop Podcast Network, the number one channel where law enforcement and first responders go to be informed and entertained. I don't know, 5-6 days a week. I don't know. You tell me. Lots going on with the channel and the network, bringing on some bigger shows like Anti-Hero Podcast, Two Cops, One Donut, and maybe this week, New York's Finest Unfiltered will be joining the network. We've got some people gathering up in the live chat, so we appreciate it. Murph 530, Brennan CFL, David. Appreciate all you guys for joining in today. Today we are covering Zuck. Well, okay, let me die. I'm trying not to swear so much. Zuck admits he's wrong. We'll leave it at that. Zuckerberg admits he's wrong, and then we got this Tulsi Gabbard joining the Trump clan, as you would say, is a very comic book-esque situation going on right now. I'd love to see it. Didn't think that this is where it would go, but hey, it's election season, baby. And then we've got a new indictment as the left just tries desperately to patch the leak that is now of Titanic size, no pun intended. And then what else we got? We got some other things. We don't want to let slip through the cracks, but today's show brought to you by ghostbed.com/Wolfpack and factormeals.com. Let's go ahead and kick the show off. Let's hit it.
The growing calls across the nation to defund the police.
To end policing as we know it.
Off the charts violence in New York City. 11 people shot in just 8 hours on
This is
Sunday.
about the police officers who every single day put on that uniform and they run towards danger when we run away from it.
Oh, I forgot the big story. The big title of the big tagline of today's story is that I'm not Zuckerberg, but RFK Jr. getting cut off last week. You know, these things have happened only days ago, but because we only do the show once a week, I feel like it's old news. But I forget that you guys are first responders and you sit in your meat wagons and you'll do politics. I don't do politics. It's not cool. And so you maybe don't know the whole story. And so it's my job to tell it to you. And that's what this whole show is about. So yeah, I'm going to start off the show today with this whole very strange, very overt, more election interference by big mainstream media, which is only proving RFK Jr.'s point. I want to talk about some strategy with mainstream media and well, right now I just call it the big left. I don't want to call it the far left. I don't want to insult. I don't want to, well, you know, far left might be insulting, but there are certain Democrats out there. Maybe the Democratic Party is dead. Let's start with that. Is it dead? Is it gone? Is traditional Democrat values gone? Is that just, are we done away with that? Is it now just big Dem and big, maybe that's it. Maybe it's big Democrat and big Republican. And that we're seeing this whole new, this whole new party being built as we bring Tulsi Gabbard, who was once left and then now kind of more conservative. And then you've got Zuckerberg, right? The furthest left guy you can possibly think of, coming out this week with some rather right point of views. Maybe we call it right, or we have to get into that too, because is he full of crap? Is it real? Is it sincere? Or does he think he's screwed? That's going to be a pretty complex topic to discuss today. But then also we have RFK Jr., who's obviously a lifelong Democrat and then kind of switches to independent only because his own party wouldn't help him out. But now coming out with a very kind of almost what you would think, or what the big left would call far right. Maybe the big right would call it far right as well. So yeah, very interesting things happening. But before we dive into all of that, Joshua closed on his house yesterday. So they are getting all ready to go, doing all the paperwork today. I think they did the final walkthrough yesterday. So a little round of applause for our producer and a round of applause for me, of course, because I'm producing my own show today. Which is like the second time this month. And the first time was absolutely debauchery. And today it looks like it's going without a hitch, right? Do I sound good? Hit yes in the chats if I sound good. No, if I suck. But I think I've done a good job. How do you like the lights? Redid the studio, got some new lights. Yeah, Catherine Smith gives a little Little rounds of applause. Not sure if that, I'm sure that's for me and not Josh's new house, because of course this show's all about me, isn't it? Armory Knight says, sounds good, looks good. I appreciate that. Armory Knight. Mur530 says, Uniparty versus Populist Party. Okay, all right. That guy, Ryan89 says, is it a right point of view or just honest? That's a fair assessment, sir. Fair assessment. So, all right, before we jump into today's show, though, which is brought to you, of course, by ghostbed.com and Factor Meals. If I didn't already say that, which I think I did, but maybe I didn't. A couple of things that we have to talk about. October 18th and 19th in Orlando, Florida, staying at the Sheridan North Comedy Show, a Tactical Brewing Company, Orlando, Florida. Flyer is coming out today, followed up by the big anti-hero podcast, Shell Shock Music Palooza. We're talking Shot Show meets Warp Tour. Shot Show meets the Warp Tour, if that makes sense. All for first responders, veterans, all the like. A lot of big special guests like Eddie Gallagher. Probably, I think he's completely locked in. We got Kyle Rittenhouse locked in, Conservative Anthony locked in, lots of other guests locked in. Evergreen Terrace, if you remember them from the 2000s, good hardcore heavy metal punk style band, going to be playing. And so if you want to be with us, hit Orlando up. Staying at the Sheridan North Hotel for Podcast, a Palooza. Shell Shock, brought to you by Anti-Hero Podcast. And here we go from there. And Forever Road Podcast, that is so close to you. I hope to see you there. Give me a call. I'd like to make sure you're there. I'll probably get you in for free. If you get your hotel room, I will make sure the rest of your trip is free. You'll be with us VIP. It goes for Fulkinator as well, because you guys moderate our Facebook, and I'm about to ask you to moderate even more. Here we go. So this is the big news. Are you ready? So we're building a big website. It's not done yet. Tired of waiting on it. But we are launching, no longer will this be the C- Media Network, because of what we're trying to do with news and Last Call and bringing on all these other amazing first responder related ish podcasts to inform and entertain you. We're trying to do something a little different. We're trying to be anti the establishment. You know, if you've ever watched me, if you've been a fan of me, I know that a lot of you were fans of Mike the Cop when this podcast started 4 years ago, but slowly a lot of you have become Tansy fans ish. You tolerate me, and I appreciate that. I love that. I've always been a little bit anti-establishment, anti-internal affairs, anti the police. I feel like people always have ulterior motives for why they're doing something, and their greed gets in the way. If I've proven to you in 4 years, I gave up being on a major network for a story, because for me, principle means more than even the show itself. If Ghostbed called me today and told me to take a stance that I didn't believe on principle was correct, the show would be done and over with, because Ghostbed pays all of us. Pays enough for the new lights in the studio, pays enough for us to put on these big extravagant events, does everything that we need them to do. Factor Meals as well. If they called today and they said, you have to take this stance or you're out, then we would just not have a show. I would rather the ship sink than to give up. And listen, this is a very hard-headed way of thinking. It does not bode well for me in jiu-jitsu, because I always feel like there's a way out. There's a way to escape. And I often wait until maybe it's too late. And I don't know if that's ego or just stubborn bullheadedness, but I refuse to give in, like us or hua. I never said hua in the Army. I don't care how much the drill sergeant smoked me in basic training. I don't care if they threatened for me not to graduate. And all you have to do is say the words hua. I'm not going to say it. I think it's stupid. It doesn't mean anything. And I don't like it. And I'm just not going to say it because I think it's stupid. That's maybe you love the hua. That's fine. I don't mind that if you love the hua. It doesn't offend me. I'm just not going to fucking say it because I don't say overtly stupid shit on purpose. I do it on accident, but I don't do it on purpose. And I'm not saying us in jiu-jitsu or karate. I don't like it. Say I'll be a white belt for the rest of my life. Fine. I don't care. And that's kind of what this network is. And then I met Tyler from Anti-Hero Podcast, and he was the same way. And so I started aligning myself with people like Josh from Dead Leg Media, with John, even Kiefer from One More and I'm Out of Here, where principle means more to us than anything. And so we wanted to create a whole network where we will always be dedicated to informing and entertaining you in our way. And we're not going to be bought out or sold out. We have a Patreon, which helps us out a lot. It affords some of the funds here. So we appreciate everybody that's on our Patreon. It's only going to get better for all the super chats. Like Nigel dropping 65, whatever it is, in Swedish money over here. So we appreciate all that. All of that's going to do this. So with that being said, I wanted to bring you guys in. You're the first to know. You guys are the first ones to see this. We are now going to be launching a new YouTube channel. And it's going to be called Fox News. The network that we are now going to belong to is going to be the Fox Media Network. Now you're like, wait a minute. Fox has already been taken, but has it? It's FAWKES Media Network. And I'll leave it up for the chats to tell me what Fox Media Network means. FAWKES. I'm sure that since you guys on YouTube's 99% of you are listeners and you're like, I don't get it, Eric. The people who are watching this right now will absolutely get this. And you can see the image that's on. I don't want to talk about the image for you audio listeners. I apologize until the chats have their moment to tell me what they think that this means. And this is what I think is going to represent our company better than C-. I think this is going to sell us better to getting on other networks and to bringing on other shows and encompassing them, because we're not really that C- anymore. C- is far, we're like the far smarter homeschool kids going up against the weirdo public school, the now public school kids, not the public school that you guys grew up with. And then the new YouTube that'll be multiple days a week is Fox News, FAWKES News. And let me go over here to the chats and see if you guys got it yet. Anybody got it yet? Guy Fawkes, Cupcakes cameo right off the bat. Absolutely. Yep. Guy Fawkes is kind of what we were thinking here. Remember the 5th of November, the gunpowder treason and plots. Yes, that is why we are going with Fox News, because an idea is bulletproof, right? I know that might be cliche. Yes, I love this. Naishkin with another $129 super chat from Swedish money, $129, says, fuck around and find out. I like that. Yeah, maybe that's a shirt. Fuck around and find out. But yes, Guy Fawkes. So we're gonna be called the Fox Media Network. That's what Two Cops One Donut, Anti-Hero Podcast, Getting a Grip on Things. All of these podcasts that want to be a part of this kind of anti-mainstream but real journalism. We're really starting to break down into getting to journalism. I want to bring on some other people onto the team here to kind of help out with some of these shows and get people involved. People like Bosco Autry, of course, who wants to throw his hand in. Even Will Cray throwing his hand in on some podcasting stuff. So giving some people some more opportunities to kind of be a part of more of a movement than anything else. I mean, Failure to Stop is going to remain the same. So I will still do the same shows on Failure to Stop, which is 100% for law enforcement. But Fox Media is going to go out and beyond first respondership. We've been doing media now. We've been doing actual news now for over a year. Well over a year. It's been almost 2 years now. And if you remember when I first started doing the news, and I hated the news, and that's why I did it, to get out of my comfort zone. But I felt like you're a police officer, you're a first responder, you're the alpha, okay, whatever you want to call it. People expect you to be all things to all people. Being that I podcast multiple times a week and I would be podcasting about breakdowns, people expected me to be more than that. And they would ask me about politics. So I didn't want to give you C- information. That really hurts my feelings. I know I call myself C- at best. And I know that I've written my whole life upon being a C- student. I've taken a lot of pride in that, but I don't want to deliver life-changing or life-altering news, meaning that you are going to make lifelong decisions based off of the news that maybe I give you, or the news that you perceive that I give you. I don't want you guys making decisions, voting decision, all these decisions based on C- information at best. So I've really, in the last 2 years, really tried to go deeper, dig deeper, and find the truth. And it's a learning process for me. I lose myself. I will listen to an idea presented by one podcast, and then I'll go and read a different article about this on a different news tabloid, and I'll come up with two different ideas, and I become confused. Well, who's telling the truth? And then it makes me deep diaper, and I go down these very long rabbit holes, and I've surrounded myself into this. And now it's like, it's like now I'm so bought in. I've spent so much time on just the Wednesday news shows and the society and culture news shows, that why not just run real news? I mean, I feel like we do it pretty freaking good here. And I think that if we dial it in on a new, that we can build more followership, get more followers, more subscribers. We'll always have Failure to Stop. This is not going to change. The schedule isn't going to change. But now we're going to have something that we can grow as a Failure to Stop family. We can grow this together, which is going to be the Fox Media, Fox News group. So we'll have Fox News, which is actually going to be the news show. And then Fox Media Group is their Fox Media company is going to be the whole company as a whole. We're kind of graduating from C-. So I appreciate you guys being on here for me. And I want to grow this. And as we grow this, I would love to get Bosco Autry some new equipment, Will create some equipment and bring them on and have them kind of research their own things if they want to, Fulcrate and find out. We're making a Fox Media group, Facebook group, to encompass everybody from all of the podcasts, to include Two Cops, One Donut. We're really going to work on the Rumble page for Fox Media so that you guys can access all the shows on Rumble. And so I'm going to need somebody to help run that. And then also kind of help run the LinkedIn as well. So although we've had over 1 million listens last year, we've had over 6 million listens in our existence, which, 90% of podcasts never even make it to like 1,000, and we're sitting over somewhere around 6 million. But we would really like to start fresh. Now that we've taken everything that we've learned from Failure to Stop and dial it in on a new channel, kind of a new network, and see how that goes. So really excited. We've been working on this for a number of months. And, like, we're trying to get this website. It's a little bit more difficult than we thought it was going to be with the logistics of bringing everybody together on this, and then getting contracts signed and figure out where money's coming from and how we're going to source and fund all this stuff. So, for every super chat from now on, we'll go 100% over to building Fox News. You guys raised $3,000 for charity. We're with the Yako Booyans in Texas with this child trafficking thing. It's really touched my heart. I'm doing some real crazy good. I wouldn't say good, but I'm doing my best effort independent journalism and trying to break out this story about human trafficking that's going on. That there's a problem that exists inside of hospitals with custody battles and things. Their kids are being imprisoned by accident in hospitals for over a year for no reason other than bureaucratic red tape and trying to find them places to stay because of money and networks and whose custody do they fall under? Is it Health and Human Services? Is it CPS? Is it the hospital? But all the meanwhile, the Medicaid is just paying for them to take up a hospital bed in a hospital room on the certain floor of hospitals where they have no time. They don't get any exercise. They don't get to go outside. They've been imprisoned in these rooms, watching TV, sitting on a bed. And they're not privy to clowns blowing up balloons or therapy dogs or anything else, like cancer patients. And, so it's very crazy story that we're working on right now. But working with Yako Ministries and doing all those things and seeing the fundraising, I want to do more. And I think this is where my calling is behind this microphone, strangely enough. And I just want to use that gift for the better. And I think building the new network and the new way and doing it from all the things that we've learned from Failure to Stop and C-. My ego says, let's do it C- because that's what I've always been. That's what all my passwords have always been. That's what, my whole life existence is based been around this C- story. But I want to let that go and start fresh with not C-, because this isn't a C- effort from me with Fox Media. It's not a C- effort. We're taking it serious. We're trying to be real. And we've come such a long way in these last 4 years. So I apologize for all of that. Apologize for the new listeners that are like, yo, what kind of sick, demented cult am I getting into? That's podcast life, baby. It's a little culty. Go back and look at our 5-star rating and reviews. That'll show you how culty we are. A lot of inside jokes, a lot of weird references. And you're just kind of like, wait, what is this show? So, by the way, we really appreciate those 5-star ratings and reviews, and I continue to read them. So if you have time in your heart, go over and leave us a 5-star rating and a review. Okay. Without further ado, Oh, Bosco Autry in the chat says, is this like a GED effort? Private school. Private school. I would say this is a private school honors. Do they still have honors? Is that still a thing? They still have honors programs. I feel like we're now trying to get into the honors program. So anyway, Armory Knight says, it's easy, Colt. We only strip you naked on the first meetup. Yeah, on the first meetup, you sit on that block of ice a little bit naked, answer a couple of questions. If you answer them right, you know, you go down a different corridor. If you answer them wrong, you know, maybe it escalates. I don't know. But come to Orlando on the 18th and 19th and find out for yourself. Oh, we know his password now. Cupcakes and Cameo said, I've graduated the password. Forcefully, now they have to be like 6 to 8 characters. CMINUS, 6 characters. Now we're leaning more towards 8. FAWKES NEWS. Will Crisis will be in Orlando, coming all the way from I don't know, Arkansas, South Dakota, Wyoming, wherever the fuck he's from. It's all that it's that north, middle west, middle east of America. Nobody likes Middle East everywhere. Sucks. Middle East, middle of America, all sucks as well. So that's where Will Craig's from. Let's jump into today's first big story. I love this. Now, house divided. I told you guys that with RFK Jr., my wife being the smartest human being I know, and I'm not just saying that. I'm not trying to be like, I'm not trying to embellish this. My wife literally graduated highest in her class from Florida State University at 18 because she got her AA at 16, her AA degree. Graduates highest in her class, backpacks around Europe by herself for almost a year, decides to stop in France, gets a job as an au pair in France, lives in France for a little over a year, comes back to the United States, gets her master's degree by the time she's 21, is teaching at NC State at 23 years old. Something like that. Absolutely genius. Reads with raising 5 kids whom we homeschool, home birth, homeschool, drink milk straight from a cow, eat eggs straight from the chickens, no screens. My wife still reads 2 to 3 books each week. Big books. Always has since I've met her. And just a wealth of knowledge. So when she told me she was voting for RFK, she's read many of RFK books. She's also obviously kind of conservative. But after all of her reading, she decided that what she thought was the best for the country and best for our family was RFK Jr. Now, me being a good husband, who's obviously in charge of his household, far-right conservative dad, she's subservient to me. I gave her permission to vote for RFK Jr. because without my blessing, she'd vote for whoever I tell her to. Obviously, I kid. But yeah, we had some real family discussions that, are we as a family going to fight for RFK? Am I doing Trump? Is she doing RFK? How is this going to work? Educate me, please. Let's talk about this. And now we have this combining of RFK and Trump, which is great for my household because now I don't have to have any chats with my wife or any long discussions about who we're voting for as a family. Bam, bada bang, bada boom. We're now voting the same. So I have been really into RFK Jr. now for a little over a year. The one thing I've always said on this show is I cannot believe how censored RFK has been in the last 2 years and how they removed him from YouTube, how they removed him from Twitter back 2 or 3 years ago, how they, that's what always drew me to RFK and why I studied him or why I tried to learn as much about him as I could, even though I would mention RFK Jr. to other people and they would laugh at me years ago. One, I didn't even know he was running. He has no chance. He's not even going to be on the ballot, Now look, God, at what point are people going to stop arguing with me and stop calling me insane and just be like, well, maybe he has a point. It's not like I just wake up one day and go and put my finger up to the winds. And then I say, RFK Jr. is going to be a contender. Do you remember that? Remember like a year or 2 years ago when I was talking about RFK Jr. and I was giving you guys news updates on RFK Jr.? And then there were some people that were like, why are we talking about RFK Jr.? Like, he doesn't have a chance. Like, this guy is like, who is this guy? And now look where we're at right now. The guy's maybe about to be in charge of the entire CIA. It's really crazy. I'm just saying, I don't do that. Like, I read, I talk to multiple people. And here's the big thing, guys. I don't watch mainstream media, not even for a second. Not even to be educated do I listen to mainstream media at all. What I do is I deep dive through many independent sources, such as podcasts, writings, newspaper writing, local media, local things. And then what I do is I put together my own story, try to pick and point the fact checks, whether I've got to use mainstream media or not. And then when I get all compiled together, what my thoughts are, I put it on paper. I pitch it to Josh on Mondays, sometimes Tuesdays if I'm procrastinating. We go over it, and then we start pulling media stuff from actual mainstream news and see which mainstream news actually came up with what we came up with, or what mainstream news pieces line up with what we're saying, and then we show those. So I don't go to mainstream media, look at mainstream media and go, ooh, I like that point. Let me bring it up. No, I've already had my point made before I go over there and look for it and cherry pick. If that makes sense to you. Now, I'm not saying I'm right all the time. What I'm saying is I'm giving you a different perspective than mainstream media, whose perspective is coming from big corporations, the big 5 corporations. Went from 56 big giant media company owners down to 5. It's not really hard to debate with the big 5. Watch The Office. You'll understand the reference. So I was really, really excited when RFK Jr. got up on stage and honestly gave one of the best speeches I've ever heard watching politics for the last couple of years. This was awesome. Choctaw Native says Vivek is awesome. I'm a Vivek fan. I'm not anti-Vivek anyway. I really enjoyed him running, and I hope that there's a place for him. And look, he's so young. We might see a Vivek in the next one, to be honest with you. So I thought that the RFK Jr. speech was phenomenal, and it was really steamrolling live until he was cut off by CNN. So let's talk about this. CNN cuts off RFK Jr. overtly, abruptly. They had no idea what they were going to say. It was the earpiece inside of their ear where they all start, where you just know that they were like, cut tape, cut to tape, cut tape, cut tape, take over. And they're screaming, annexation of Puerto Rico. You know, they're just making shit up, which in their defense, I know how hard it is to be in front of a microphone and a camera watching the news. I got multiple monitors, 2 monitors here. Sometimes we have 3 monitors. I'm going to have my 3rd monitor back, just redoing the studio. I know how hard it is to watch chats, watch my video, look at the video camera, talk to the audio guys, pay attention to the audio guys, and also try to read my notes from articles that are on the computer and the notes that are on my paper. So it's difficult. They do a phenomenal job bullshitting. It's part of the job. That's why you get paid the big bucks. But here's the question. The overt cut, when he starts to talk about one specific thing, and I'm going to let you guys figure it out. I'm not going to tell you what that specific thing is. I'm going to play this for you, and then you pay attention to where they cut tape. I'm going to play like 3 minutes, okay? And in that 3 minutes, it's like the baseball game where they have the cups with the ping pong ball. Follow the ball. Lift up the cup. Which one's got the ball in it? 1, 2, or 3. You know what I mean? I did that in Pittsburgh. I'm going to do that right now. You follow the tape. Follow the clip of RFK. Tell me when they cut tape, overtly cut tape, and then let's talk about if it was wise for them to overtly do it or not, because I have some differing opinions on how that could have been played out in their favor, but they're not smart enough. And I'm really beginning to think that these mainstream, whoever's running the mainstream media, kids, actually, they are kids these days, kids compared to me, are idiots. They have no fucking clue what they're doing. And we'll get into it. I'll tell you why. They have no idea. They have no real world experience. And this is why they've made the choices they've made, because they have lived a life inside the confines of public schools, public education, university education, and they have never been to the real world, and they don't see how the real world works. It takes a real world guy, kind of like Bosco Autry, right? Like I feel like you could not get one over on Bosco. I feel like he's got too much real world experience to get one over on him. These kids don't have that. And I want to get into it. Let me play this tape first of RFK Jr. Follow the ping pong ball. Let's see what happens.
Three great causes drove me to enter this race in the first place, primarily. And these are the principal causes that persuaded me to leave the Democratic Party and run as an independent. And now to throw my support to President Trump. The causes were free speech, a war in Ukraine, and the war on our children. I've already described some of my personal experiences and struggles with the government's censorship industrial complex. I want to say a word about the Ukraine war. The military industrial complex has provided us with a familiar comic book justification like they do on every
monitoring
war.
this from RFK
That
Jr.,
this
but
one is a noble effort
that
to stop
was
a supervillain,
so
Vladimir Putin,
much
invading the Ukraine and then to thwart his Hitler-like march across Europe. In fact, tiny Ukraine is a proxy in a geopolitical struggle.
Doug I with us, as well as Johanna Maska. She's the host of.
And there you saw it. And there you saw it. The minute he started talking about Ukraine, proxy wars, getting into all that, they cut. Now, you know that they're cutting to tape, and it's overt cut to tape, as in there was no, they couldn't hide it because it came on too fast. They were too afraid of what was going to happen. And that's why they started talking, but their technology didn't catch up. So it still allowed RFK to go. They didn't know what they were going to say. They stopped talking. RFK Jr. keeps going, and then they just start making up some bullshit, and it cuts to them. And then they kind
of the Press Advance podcast. She's a former Obama White House director of Press Advance. He's talking about wanting, and we've seen a press filing or a court filing in Pennsylvania. Yeah. So he's saying that he's taking himself off of these ballot access challenges in states where he would be a spoiler.
Did you hear that was a nervous watch. Let me play it again for you. Hold on.
Ballot access challenges in states where he would be.
She's like, I have no idea what the fuck I'm saying. How do I know this? Because I'm there all the time. This happens to me all the time. Where I'm like, oh shit, I didn't see that coming. Oh, but I'm also not getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to be sitting
spoiler, there. Right? These battleground states, like, tell me if I've got this right, Doug. But when it comes to a red state or a blue state, you can sort of, if you want to vote for him, you can then register how you feel about him.
I mean, she's so lost in the sauce. And I listen, I am not shitting on her whatsoever. Like, not her fault, right? She didn't know that was going to happen. And that's why this is so overt that they have to cover something up. And here's the thing. Now you see it, and anybody with half a brain knows what's going on. And now everybody that has half a brain that's watching mainstream media, which is not very many people that watch mainstream media have even a whole half a brain, because mainstream media takes away 3/4 of your brain cells. Fact, science. But even those people with almost a half a brain that live via mainstream media are now going, huh, that's interesting. He was just talking about the Ukraine war being a proxy war, which is not wrong. And he didn't say anything that was factually incorrect. And then you guys just, and one of the most epic one of the most crazy during the DNC, this is huge news, probably the biggest news of the entire year. And you guys are going to cut to some bullshit podcaster about which states he's going to vote in. So you see what I'm saying is, like, maybe if they would have just kept their mouth shut and let him keep going for a minute, people would have either zoned out. Maybe they wouldn't have been able to tolerate his raspy voice any longer. But now everybody begs to question, what was he going to say? And that makes more people actually listen to what he was saying. It's kind of like if you fart. Let me get a little crass with you. You fart, right? A little. but you keep talking like it didn't happen, and you just hope that maybe that guy in front of you is like, well, was that a fart? Was that the chair? It's probably, give him the benefit that it's probably the chair. And you keep going, and then people forget about the fart. But if you go, oh God, that was embarrassing, I just farted. What do you think that person's going to say after your conversation's done? Then be like, I was talking to Eric, and he fucking boofed. Mid-conversation, just boofed. So funny. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's better to just calm it down. But these morons that are running mainstream media, that are feeding the stories, that are actually writing the stories, that are writing the teleprompters, they don't have the real world experience to know these kinds of things. And instead they make a complete debauchery of the whole situation by getting in their little headpieces and freaking everybody the fuck out. And now you see that they are absolutely freaked the frick out. The panicky breath, the stutter, the rambling on about nothing that has anything to do with what he's currently saying. It's not active listening. They're in panic mode because nobody is on the other side that's had any real world experience that can say, all right, listen, as soon as we can, let's go ahead and transition from this softly, kind of make it look like it's not a big deal about what he's talking about with this whole Ukraine thing. But like, we have that podcaster in there. Let's go ahead and get a transition in there when you can. Quickly, though. You know what I mean? Instead, what they probably was like, stop, cut the tape. Julian, bring the podcaster, cut the tape, go. Because they have no real world experience. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. It's embarrassing. Mainstream media is dead, folks. It's absolutely dead. It's gone. Kaput. Fugazi, as they say. Right? Remember the movie? Anyway, which is why we're starting a Fox Media company, and we're going to have Fox News, but with our different take on it, with real world experience, right? We're not college journalists that were raised in, like, we all have military experience. We have law enforcement experience. We have experience in having 5 children. We're blue class, middle class. That's why I want to engage with guys like Will Cray and guys like Bob, because they're in the real world and they have real world perspectives. This isn't the fucking Hunger Games where the Capitol gets to put out all the propaganda and treat everybody else like peasants, which is exactly what the fuck is going on, even in social media. Because if I make a post that says trans or sex or anything in it, that post will get 46,000 views in 24 hours. If I make a funny Brazilian jiu-jitsu post that has 48 shares in the course of 45 minutes, that video will only have 4,000 views. But it has 40 something shares in less than an hour, but it will only have 4,000 views, versus I make some stupid transsexual argumentative post that doesn't even have as many comments or likes or laughy emojis as the other ones, and it'll get 46,000 views, because there is an overt, there is a obvious motive for mainstream media and for social media. It's there. It exists. By the way, this is why I like having a co-host, because it's really hard to carry on a show for 38 minutes without screwing up like I just did. Usually he right there, he would have put a word in my mouth that I was looking for. All right. Next up, we have this whole Tulsi Gabbard thing. Before we get into this, and this is a really important story, because Tulsi Gabbard, again, coming from the left, transitioning to the right. And this was like the big topic of the day that I wanted to hit with you guys in the chats as well. And then, of course, we have the RFK that we just discussed, coming from left to center to now almost more right, but I don't think so. And now we have Mark Zuckerberg. And so, like, I'm going to bring this all together. This is something that I've seen, and I want to bring it all together for you. And then I think you'll appreciate it. But before I do that, what keeps this whole train moving is GhostBed at ghostbed.com/. Well, that sleep so good, it's scary. Beds made in the good old USA. Got to tour GhostBed down in Florida. It was awesome. Got to meet the wife, the son, works in research and development. Big facility, man. And it's all family. It's so tight knit, just like my family. That's why I was blown away when I went down there. And it was so cool, man, to see the research and development area, and then to go and see the customer service area, and then go out onto the sales floor area, shipping beds all over the world. Very, very cool place the Ghost Bed was. It's one of America's oldest surviving bed companies. I live by the Massage Topper. I got my ass absolutely handed to me yesterday at jiu-jitsu. Actually, there was a guy from another gym that opened up another gym, and he came in to roll in jiu-jitsu, and he saw me. He was looking at me all class. He was a brown belt, and he was looking at me. And I says, why is this brown belt staring at me? He looks like maybe I said something negative about his wife or something. I don't know, but he's staring at me. And at the end of class, he came kind of over to where I was sitting, and he says, "Are you the guy with the really funny Instagram?" And I said, "Oh yeah, that's." And he's like, "Bro, that is." He's like, "I laughed so hard." He was like, Can we get a spar in? Can we spar?" And I was like, "Sure, let's do it." And I thought maybe because we were kind of on this mutual friend basis that he was gonna go, a little lighter on me. Just kind of keep it flowy, friendly. No, the guy fucking murdered me. Fucking murdered me. You think a funny guy is a tough guy? I'm funny because I'm not tough. Oh, man. Yeah, absolutely destroyed me. But I have my massage ghost bed topper laid on the massage topper while watching the movie Titanic. We're going on a cruise this week with the whole family, all 5 of my kids going on their first cruise ever. And so I had to do what's right, but what's good parenting. Make them watch Titanic before they go on the cruise. So we did. We watched Titanic last night, but I laid on the massage topper the entire time. It's that zero gravity. So it's like shooting air. So it's not abrasive. Anyway, head over to ghostbed.com. Do it today. Get your pillow. I'm taking my ghost bed pillow on the fucking cruise. Went and bought new luggage bags just to fit my ghost bed pillow. My wife was like, "Are you serious?" I said, "Look, this is a cruise. And they say you can have as many bags as you want. I am taking my ghost bed pillow, which means I'm going to need my own bag this time because I can't fit all my clothes, all your clothes, and then one of our 2 daughters' clothes because we still pack for her, all in one suitcase with my ghost bed pillow." She's like, "You're literally going to pay this much money for another luggage bag just so you can carry your ghost bed pillow?" I said, "Do you want me to sleep on the fucking cruise or do you want me to be cranky?" I'm not sleeping without my ghost bed pillow. I can go without my ghost bed. I cannot go without the ghost bed pillow. It's not happening. It's one or the other. No, it's actually the pillow. The ghost bed mattress is awesome, but because I travel so much, I would probably have to opt for having the pillow over the mattress because I actually probably sleep on the pillow more than the mattress. Even though the mattress is great, but it's so hard to get out of bed. That cooling technology, as soon as I roll over, I'm like, dude, I'm not getting out of this bed. I get all cozy back up in my blankets. It's super hard to get out of bed. All right. Then we also have factormeals.com. Last promo, make it quick. Factormeals.com/Wolfpack50. Meal planning to the next level. Talking about fresh, never frozen meals delivered right to your door. I said fresh and never fucking frozen. So stop messaging me in the DMs about, "Hey, Tansy, are those frozen meals?" No, I say it every ad read. I have for over a year now. Fresh, never frozen. Never frozen. What part of never frozen don't you understand? They come in this big giant box delivered to your door. Let's say you get 6 meals for the week. Let's say you want to get Papa Swolio like me. You want to get a little bit jacked. So you hit that protein heavy, right? 50 grams of protein plus per meal. They deliver it to your door in a big box. And that box has this Nordic dry ice. You open up the box. It's got its own little cooler in there and all the little ice stuff floats out. Your kids love it. You take the meals. They're color coded. You put them in your refrigerator. You pop them out of your refrigerator when you're ready. They're not frozen. You put them in your lunch pail with that same Nordic dry ice. Put that in your lunch pail. Take it to work with you. Open it up, put it in your peasant work microwave. And I say that respectfully because that a lot of you guys are EMS, EMTs, first responders, cops, firemen. They're peasant microwaves from Walmart. They suck. 2 minutes, doesn't matter. Done, ready to go. Got your meals. You can do calorie conscious, protein heavy. You can do vegan, vegetarian, breakfast. You want shakes, smoothies, whatever it is for the whole week. And it's a wash when it comes to price. Because by the time you drive, spend all that gas money, go to the store, buy a bunch of stuff you didn't want in the first place, come back, find your Rubbermaid totes, cook everything out, parcel it all out, and then try to organize. It's chaos. Stop. Time is money. Money is time. Something like that. Go to factormeals.com/Wolfpack 50% off. All right, here we go. Let's jump into the big story today. Zuckerberg admits he's wrong, and that's something. That's going to be a big something, but I'm going to hit that next. Tulsi Gabbard, though, coming out. She's on this dream team. I want to talk about this dream team real quick. Everybody's calling it like almost comic book-esque. Tulsi Gabbard was on the left. She was a congresswoman out of Hawaii. Actually, she got into politics at like 21. National Guard, big lieutenant or whatever in the National Guard, became an officer, got promoted. She was a medic. Deployed to Iraq, saw some shit in Iraq. And then started asking questions while she was in Iraq. And I think this is what happens to a lot of people. And I remember when my first deployment and I came back and I was like, this is bullshit. This war is bullshit. Nobody knows what the fuck they're doing over there. Nobody has a mission plan. Nobody has an idea. We're all just kind of every general is trying to get a second star. Everyone starts trying to get, every lieutenant colonel's trying to get to colonel. Every captain's trying to get to major. It's everybody is just climbing this ladder for themselves. And nobody, like, we were running operations that other people wouldn't know that there were operations being ran, that other countries didn't know you were running those operations, fighting about why you ran the operation. And here's the reason why you ran the operation was because you wanted some medals and some awards. Whatever captain, whoever had authority of whatever size the operation was, majority of those operations were done solely so that person could say that they ran 150 combat missions, or because they got into so many troops in contact style operations. But there was no greater whole. There was no Taliban fighting, if you will. And now there was sporadically, maybe on like the special operations side, and I was in special operations, and we did go after certain cells, but a lot of times these missions didn't come down from anybody specific with any specific plan. This would be coming from our own little intel sources, our own captain, our own major saying, hey, we've got some intel here, we're going to go do this. But there was no bigger picture. At least that's how I felt in my early 20s, in the early 2000s. I didn't say anything because I was young and I was actually trying to pursue a life as a Green Beret, going to Special Forces Assessment Selection, trying to go through the whole Q course, trying to do all of these things. So I wasn't really in a place that I could position what the war was about, or what I was doing over there. Then I find that Tulsi Gabbard asked the same exact questions I did, except she has a public platform to stand on and she's an officer. And that's when she begins to think that this is full of shit. Now, if you remember, the war was a right thing to begin with. It was a Bush thing to begin with, right? So that's why I say it's not like a far right or far left thing here. Maybe it's a big right or a big left, or a big industrial military complex, if you will. Let me play this clip from Tulsi Gabbard so you can learn a little bit more about Tulsi Gabbard. Now, remember, she spoke at the DNC a few years ago. Nancy Pelosi was all about her. She was a woman of color. But which she'll say, quote unquote, I'm a person of color because she's Hawaiian, right? But she's, I don't know. I think it's strange. I think that whole thing is strange. But yeah, she's a woman of color. She's an officer in the military. You know, she's checking a lot of boxes for the left. And then she kind of switches stances based on who was the president at the time, which was Biden, who is a Democrat. So Bush is who I was questioning now because he was the president when I was there and he's a Republican. And now she's questioning Biden because she was there under Biden. So that's why I say I don't think it's a left or right thing. It's a big industrial military complex thing, which is what RFK Jr. was just saying at the beginning of the show, which then they cut him off. Now it's starting to make sense, right? Now you're like, oh, Eric, I see where your brain's going with all of this and why you put this thing in the order. Let me play this clip. Again, about 2 or 3 minutes. I want you to get the totality of the clip. Listen to what she has to say here.
I immediately started to dig into why. What does he want to do? Asking the basic questions that all politicians should ask when faced with the question of war or peace. What is our objective? What are you seeking to accomplish? How will you know when you've quote unquote won? What's the exit strategy? What will you do if they counterattack in some fashion? So these questions that are basic, common sense questions, I asked of the administration, of Secretary of State John Kerry at the time, and others from the White House, the Department of Defense, the State Department, in open and closed hearings. And what surprised me most was that even in, again, this is 2013, we've been at war in Iraq for quite some time. And there were a lot of people who I would have hoped had learned some lessons. They didn't have answers to those basic questions that I asked. Like, oh, we're going to go drop some bombs to send a message. So, okay, well, how will they likely react to this military attack on their country? Oh, we don't think they will. Really? And so on and so forth. All of that work that I did caused me to conclude that going and launching another war that would be the first strike in a regime change war, which is what the Obama administration was pushing for, would ultimately not end well for us or the Syrian people and had a strong likelihood we would end up in yet another quagmire, not only between the United States and Syria, but it would likely turn into a regional war. Came out and wrote an op-ed stating this, and immediately got a call from the White House within 24 hours saying, "How dare you?" Not, "Hey, tell us more about your position," or "How can we provide you with, a new information or argument?"
So basically what she's saying, I'm sorry, I was breathing into the microphone. Basically what she's saying is the same thing. The same things I was thinking in the early 2000s. She's kind of having the same epiphany, which I think a lot of people do have that same epiphany about how you go there and you see that there is chaos and that there isn't any way out. There isn't really any plan. And so now you have to beg the question. It's like, well, what are we doing here? And so she sees that Obama is trying to start a new war with a new regime change, and that had her questioning things. And so she goes in and then she writes an op-ed piece, and she gets a call from the government, which I'm going to get to that part. I'm just going to fast forward to save you the time. But she writes an op-ed piece on this, and here's the response.
Challenging the leader of your party, and are you as a freshman Democrat? It was, "How dare you go against your certain experience that maybe we can learn?" Nothing like that. It was, "How dare you go against your president? How dare you as a freshman Democrat? You haven't even been here a minute, and you're challenging the leader of your party and one who comes from was born in your home state in Hawaii." It was surprising to me that they didn't care at all about the seriousness of the objections that I raised, the concerns that I raised, and what was really at stake. All they cared about was, "Why are you not being a team player?"
And there you go, folks. That's what it's all about. And then this is why you get folks like Donald Trump, like Elon Musk, like RFK Jr. We get it. We understand. They get it that the big government, the big left and the big right have been in control. They are the totalitarians. They are the ones trying to keep this as if we're some kind of 1600s parliamentary style government where you have Marie Antoinette and the Hunger Games looking French folks living on their high horses, making all these decisions, having no real, it's that let them have cake type mentality where you're so detached from what reality is really like that you say something as stupid as, well, let them have cake. And then the people revolt and cut your head off and try to get things back together and back to normal. That's what we're seeing right now, except because of the expressway of information, the internet, podcast, the birth of the outlets that new independent journalists have. Think about it back in the early 1900s, or as far back as like 16, 1700s. There was only a certain handful of people that had a printing press or that could print anything. And therefore, the people with the money could go to those people, and they would only have like 3 or 4 people to bribe to get out the message that they want, the one message, the one intent. Well, now you have thousands of podcasters. That's why I think it's great. And I don't think the market's saturated. I think there should be more and more and more people giving out more information, because we cannot have the flow of information stopped or sold out. Hence why we have Fox Media Group coming very soon to YouTube's near you. And I hope you guys all follow over there, because I think we're going to have a lot of fun and do a lot more of these style shows almost every single day. Presenting the news. So they don't have to be so long, right? I don't have to cover so many stories, cover the big story and then just kind of move on and then compile the best of those and then do that for here. But now you have somebody like Trump who is uniting these people that are in the same boat, that they're not big left and they're not big right. The people that aren't playing the game. Wow. Isn't that something? When enough people say, I'm not going to wear your mask to work, you can't fire us all. It's amazing how that works. They can't fire you all. Isn't that crazy? So when you have a few people who actually have the balls, the kahunas, the ovaries to stand up and say, this doesn't sound right, and I have to be selfless here. I can't be so bought in on my own ideologies that I have to do what's right for the country. And so there is going to have to, there's always going to be some kind of a compromise that has to be made. But are we doing the right things for the right reasons, or are we doing it for money, which big government is doing everything for money, everything for power, and everything to carry on, again, this like 1600-esque carry my namesake, my birthright. When you look at the lineage or the family tree of all the presidents, you can see how they're interwoven and how they all link together, all the politicians together. And it's now becoming like this very Game of Thrones style. It's my right to sit on the Iron Throne of the United States. Get fucked. That's our throne. The government should be absolutely afraid of us, and they're not. They are not afraid of you, and that's shitty. And hopefully Fox Media will make it to where there will be enough people that shows the government will say, hey, Jesus. Yeah, there's a lot of people who aren't afraid of us. They're going to say whatever they want to say because we're going to. And we want you to chat. We're building Fox Media, FAWKES, in a way that we can be more prominent on places like Truth or Rumble or anything like that, where we do not have to count on YouTube, period, at all. We're really going to try to launch that because we really want to be able to say what we want to do. We want the government to know that you should be afraid of the people, that we rule the thing. And I think that this is a huge move for Trump, bringing on people like Tulsi Gabbard and people like RFK Jr., because it's really painting that picture of there are big right and there are big left, and then there are us here who are just kind of by definition right and left, but not like the new definition, but like the old definitions, more center of the road-esque. So I think what he's doing is brilliant, and it is working because now big government, big corporation is scared. And how do you know they're scared? Because one of the biggest of all of them, Mark Zuckerberg, actually comes out today, or I mean, not today, but this week, yesterday. Let me just read this. This is coming from New York Post. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg admitted Monday that the Biden administration pressured Facebook to censor COVID-19 content and acknowledged that it was Are we back? Are we back with the media? Oh my gosh, that was wild. How did that even happen? Okay, so somebody in the chats tell me where I left off. Oh my God. Where did we leave off? It was scary for my family, but oh my gosh. Where did it leave off? Does anybody remember where it left off? Was about a minute or two of no sound. Wow. Man, this is why it sucks not having a producer in the house with me today. Well, what I was talking about was Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO of Facebook, admitted on Monday that Biden administration pressured Facebook to censor COVID-19 content and acknowledged that it was wrong to stifle the post coverage of Hunter Biden's infamous laptop. An explosive letter to House Judiciary Committee Chairman Representative Jim Jordan, Republican out of Ohio, Zuckerberg wrote that senior Biden administration officials, including the White House, repeatedly pressured Meta to censor content related to the coronavirus pandemic in 2021 and Hunter Biden's infamous laptop. And so here's where my rant picks up. Remember when I did the show where we got demonetized for 90 days, which led to this incredible shadow ban that we've never gotten rid of. You know, when we went from having 800 to 1,000 people in every one of our live chats to now between 30 and 50. All because we talked about the Hunter Biden laptop, but we never said that it was real. Well, we said in that show, if you go back and listen to it on audio, that Hunter Biden's laptop, some people think it's Russia collusion, and some people think it's that. And then I played the interview with the old Project Veritas of the guy who found the laptop and his take on it. And you could tell that the guy sounded like he owned a very Men in Black style. Remember the movie Men in Black where they go into the little radio shop and it's just like this very outdated, antiquated radio shop that you don't know how it stays in business, but he works on like old VCRs. That's what this guy kind of business he kind of was running there. It was never going to be like a famous Geek Squad style Best Buy business. He was never going to get rich. He's just kind of status quo business, probably paid his bills, probably just didn't have to work for the man, showed up on his own, did the things that he loved, nerded out. He had no reason to ruin his life by bringing this forward other than it was the right thing to do. And you could tell that by the way that this guy talked in his interview. He had no ulterior motives or intentions by means of the interview. It was probably one of the lamest whistleblowings I've ever heard in my life. That guy's never left his little shop ever. You could tell. And so then you're trying to tell me that this guy is getting bought and paid for by Russia. But all the meanwhile, they're putting all this extreme pressure on everybody who even tries to talk about it. So when, again, like going back to CNN cutting out RFK Jr., now you have them being so obsessed with this being Russian disinformation or misinformation that you demonetize my channel for 90 days and absolutely scrub everything that we had worked for on that whole YouTube channel. Well, it must be something then, or you wouldn't be that upset about it. We're just having a conversation about it. And now we're reading that Mark Zuckerberg says, yes, the Biden administration censored me and censored Facebook, and it was all their idea. Now, Zuckerberg has gotten a little bit of color back in his skin, getting a little jacked, been doing jujitsu, which, listen, when you started with jujitsu, you definitely become more of a man. Definitely come a little bit red pilled because a lot of those guys are all into that stuff. But Pat Miletich, UFC legend, Hall of Famer, huge into all this stuff. Really big into all this stuff. Big pharma, exposing big pharma, pedophile rings. I mean, that's all Pat Miletich. He's not afraid. I stayed in a suite with him at a bare knuckle fight. And first thing he wanted to talk about. Ken Shamrock, same way. Tito Ortiz, same way. A lot of these UFC guys, you know, Joe Rogan even, you know. They love this kind of red-pilled conspiracy. They like to talk about it. And so maybe Zuck is getting a little bit red-pilled, but I don't think so. I think the reason was because the government is now finally afraid of the people. I think he sees the writing on the wall that the forces are joining together, and now we are going to come after you. We're going to make sure that you are held accountable for what's going to happen or for what has happened, especially with the pandemic and with the Biden laptop. And let's not even forget about Ashley Biden's diary. It talks about inappropriate showers with some folks and inappropriate sexual conversations with people while she's at a certain age. I don't know. So I take it how you will. I know Zuckerberg is saying, look, he admits it was wrong to stifle the post coverage of the Hunter Biden's laptop. He says that the Biden administration, including the White House, repeatedly pressured Meta to censor his content related to the coronavirus. But you know what? He did it. He did it. And I don't think him coming out now and kind of apologizing for it and admitting to it really kind of does anything. You did it when it benefited you. You did it, and now that you're scared, now that you got this whole Marie Antoinette thing on the heels, you're now kind of like, oh God, well, I better start retracting. He's read the history books. He knows what's about to happen. Everybody is fighting back, which is why we have Fox Media Group coming out. Yeah, very interesting times. I'm going to play this last clip. We'll get out of here. Let me play this. This was of Joe Biden talking about Facebook and misinformation, disinformation back when Meta was censoring everything.
They're killing people. I mean, look, the only pandemic we have is among the unvaccinated. And they're killing people.
Biden later walked back the comment, insisting he wasn't attacking Facebook. Overnight, the White House responded to Zuckerberg's letter. Our position has been clear and consistent. We believe tech companies and other private actors should take into account the effects their actions have on the American people while making independent choices about the information they present.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, how can we make decisions based on the information that we are presented if we can't put out the information because you demonetize us and take our whole channel down? You get what I'm saying? Which is why we have the birth of Fox Media. So Bosco, Autry, and Falconator, and all of you fans here that are on the Failure to Stop Wolfpack, I'm really going to need you guys' help building this. I really want to build this together, make you guys the OGs, gift you guys full access, not paid access, but full access to those pages for being, lifelong loyal. Anybody that's a paid member here, like Tyler S., all the guys that I mention every single week in this show, Michael Hendricks and all those things. I want you guys to be the main part of Fox, FAWKES. I'll bring it up one more time. I want you guys to be the big part of this and our little Fox News thing that we got going on here. And we'll see how it goes. And that'll kind of take a little bit of less pressure off, because I know I try to cover a lot in just an hour on Wednesdays. And one thing I get from the most first responders that I get, the most feedback I do on the Failure to Stop podcast channel, where we have society and culture news on Mondays, we do political news, and then we do case breakdowns on Fridays, is I wish we had more news. And I wish it wasn't so much at one time. Like, can you do more news days? Make it, like stick on something, more for less, basically. Less time, or more time, less articles, or less time, less articles type deal. That's kind of what stemmed us to go, yeah, let's do that. That does sound fun, and really kind of have more of an effort and carrying on the news on a daily, giving kind of like daily updates, not every day, 2 to 3 days a week. So let us know what you think about that. We'll be launching that out in the next week. So, the Fox Den, damn it, Bosco. I like that. I really do like that. Well, anyway, the more you know, knowing is half the battle. Not to act is inaction in itself. Don't be on the wrong side of history. As cliche as that sounds. From myself, this Cupcakes Cameo says the Fox Den does sound pretty cool. It does sound cool. Hopefully next week we'll be back with more producers, and we won't have the audio issues that we had. And I appreciate you for sticking around for that. We'll talk to you guys soon. Guns up, giddy up.